Wednesday morning miracles, and we are on chapter 19, the attainment of peace. Today we're going to dive into the unreality of sin. So last week we talked about sin versus error, just a distinction. The way that our world has it, and this is the main reason why actually there is war and chaos and judgments and attack is actually we believe that sin is something to be punished for, something that we actually are being punished for, and that we need to somehow atone or really to, I don't know, to make sacrifices. So as we continue to do that, there's this idea that somehow we are guilty. We are guilty of something, and this guilt that we carry is really the reason why we project onto others and onto situations in the world. And from there is this cycle of attack and defense, and then hence righteousness and what's right and what's wrong. So this idea of duality also comes from that place. What the Course says is, we were on, I'll just kind of start by sharing the lesson we were on. We were on lesson 23 a little bit ago, and this one stuck with me a little bit because it introduced this idea of cause and effect. So I'll just share that here to open up our call here today as we talk about cause and effect for a second. So the Course says that, let me see what it says. It says, let me find it real quick. Sorry, I know it's right here somewhere. Oh, so the cause of the world, right? Sometimes we think that what's happening outside externally is the reason why we are experiencing the pains, the anxieties, the worries, and things like that. So we think the world is actually the cause. But the Course says, if the cause of the world you see is attack thoughts, then you must learn that it is these thoughts in which you do not want. There is no point in laminating the world. There is no point in trying to change the world, because it is incapable. It is incapable of change because it is merely an effect. The world is an effect. All right. So this is writing this upside down perception that we have. There is indeed a point in changing your thoughts about the world. Here, you are changing the cause. The effect will automatically change. So the world that we see isn't a world that we need to change, because it isn't the cause of anything. It's really our thinking, our minds, the attack thoughts that we have in our minds, and the idea of sin and all of that we carry with us. That's the cause of the world that we see. All right, so we're just writing the order. So everything in the Course that about attaining peace and coming back to remembrance of yourself is always about the order in which you have things. So last week we talked a little bit about the last call we talked a little bit about the false idols, the things that we claim that we love, which is, there's nothing wrong with all that. We can love our jobs, we can love our family, we can love our spouse, and we can love God. But the problem really is the order in which we place our love. That's what the Course speaks about, this false idols. So once you have the right order, then everything falls back into place. And same thing in the way that we see the world. Once we have the right order of cause and effect, we also reclaim this power that we have. All right, so we'll go into that a little bit here today. We'll read a little section from A Year of Miracles from Marianne Williamson. We'll open it up for shares, and yeah, we'll kind of just go from there. But first, let's just arrive to this current present moment, and we do that by just simply become aware of our awareness. Let's just become aware of our awareness. So we do that. We can, if you're not driving, if you can just give yourself maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds, something like that, just to notice your breath, notice your breathing. And just following your breath, not needing to control where it goes, but just notice where it does go. This is the way that we invite the present moment, or we invite ourselves to the present moment. The breath will carry us to the present. So just noticing where it goes. Is it to your chest? Is it to your belly? And then see if in your mind's eye you can direct that breath to other parts of your body. Maybe you can direct it to your fingertips. Just notice where your breath can move to. And noticing your body, just becoming aware of the body that holds you. And as we arrive to this present moment, we just say, thank you. We say thank you for being alive today, for being awake, for being able to be aware. Say thank you to our consciousness, to ourselves for even being here. And we ask that Spirit guide us in the clarity of our minds today. As we open our hearts, feeling the expansion and the safety that it is okay to just open up a little bit more. Allowing your heart and your mind to just be a little more open to the messages that is wanting to come through you and through all of us as a collective, wanting to come through the world. Imagine as you are opening up that all of Earth, all of this planet, this world that we live in, the heart of the world is also opening up at the same time. And just notice and allow yourself to smile and experience a little bit of joy as your heart and your mind is opening to the infinite possibility, to the truth of who you are. And Spirit, guide us in this conversation, in this gathering here today. May we remember who we are. May we remember that sin is nothing but an error to be corrected. That we are not guilty. We are innocent. And as a result of us showing up here today, let us remember why we came. What is our function in this world? So that we may be a little bit kinder today, more loving, more forgiving, as we bring this out into our life, to all of our relationships. Let any worries and anxieties that is on our hearts be lifted as we surrender and give this over to you. Where we don't trust, remove that for us. And let us just for moments of our day have a glimpse of what full trust looks like and the peace that comes with that. And it is my intention here to to be in co-creation with Spirit, with God, with each one of you. And I'm just so grateful for this gathering here today. I'm so thankful for you guys taking the time out to join. And it means a lot to me. So thank you all. And from there, we begin our ACIM Wednesday morning miracle satsang. And we will invite Marian Williamson into our call here with her book, A Year of Miracles. And let's see what she wants to share with us today. You know, every time I'm flipping through this book, two passages always show up. I read them pretty often, but I also skip them because it's always showing up. I'm like, okay, I get it. So one is on moving mountains, and the other one is may the animals be blessed. So, yeah, we just, you know, I'm actually going to read the may the animals be blessed because a friend of mine, two of my friends just lost their dogs. And, you know, animals have been really present in the healing of my heart these past months. So might as well. This is on day 316. May the animals be blessed. Today I remember the animals of the world are cohabitants of this precious planet. I recognize their vulnerability as well as the harm we sometimes do to them. May careless, even cruel behavior towards animals be forever removed from the earth. May my heart be open to ways I can be of service to them. May the relationship between humans and animals be lifted to its highest place. Dear God, please bless the animals. Protect them from the actions of those with cold hearts. May we be proper stewards of these precious creatures in our midst. Amen. May the animals be blessed. So, welcoming, if you are just joining, hello, happy Wednesday. I've been writing my book for the last 4 years, but finally I feel like there's some structure, there's what I really want to write. And my book now has gone through many stages of evolution. There's the recent one before this new title change was called Had You Had Faith, You Wouldn't Need a Miracle. But now that title of that book has become a chapter in this new book called The Language of Peace. So I write a couple different, I don't know what I'm looking for the word, but maybe like formulas or, what word am I looking for that I always forget? Like a framework. You know, it's so hard for me to remember this word. I'm always like, this F word, what is it? Is it foundations? Is it, what is it? It's framework. Okay, framework. So if any time I forget, guys, if I just say the F word, just tell me framework, okay? So I've written a bunch of different frameworks that I believe the course is teaching us. And one of the things that I mentioned earlier is the order of things is very important. You know, because the course the course isn't saying, here, just go straight to this place. It mentions giving it over to Spirit, to God, and all of that. But what's important is the order in which we are releasing and coming to understanding of what all that means. So the order is important. And so I did my best to create a framework around the order in which we can return to peace. And peace really is just the conditions. Okay, so everything is about being in a condition to receive the next stage of the framework. So peace ultimately is what the Course says, the state in which you need to be in order for God to take the last step and for us to return home, right? And so the first stage or the gate of this framework that, well, let's call it zero first. The first, zero stage is willingness. Okay, so even all of us being here today, if you are listening to any parts of this, that means a part of you has this willingness, and willingness comes before understanding. The Course says your part, when you've recognized that your part is so little, you would truly understand what the Course is teaching us here is that because we think that when we exchange, like if we give up, all I have to do is be willing, it's so tiny, and I'm going to receive all of remembrance and all of knowledge and truth and God and heaven. That doesn't seem like a fair exchange, so we don't even want to do that, even though the Course is saying this, you're getting everything for almost nothing, right? You just need to have a willingness to allow spirit or truth to be present in this moment. So in the very beginning is, it's about willingness, the willingness to recognize that we don't have to get it right. We only need to stop defending against the truth. That's what the Course says. We just have to stop defending against the truth. And this little bit of willingness really is it dismantles this need to argue against peace. And it creates, when we are truly willing, it actually creates a sense of safety in the not knowing. And this is what the ego cannot stand, is like, what do you mean? Not knowing can be safe? And it takes willingness to step into that. So it's the first piece of this, of loosening this picture that we have of the world. And so really the first step is willingness. The second step in what I'm sharing in the book, and I'll kind of just go through like one or two every call so we don't like overwhelm the conversation. But this conversation has been very present lately, is fear is simply misidentification. The root of fear is in identifying who we are. And I heard a quote yesterday from a sister of mine. She says that pain is the infinite, is the price that the infinite pays itself for playing as a finite, as a limited, right? So misidentification, we're identifying ourselves with limitations. We're identifying ourselves with stories, with the body, with traumas, with the roles that we play. We identify with success, with failures, with relationships, all these different things that we identify me as, and all of those are these false idols that we fall into. Fear, the Course says that fear arises when we confuse what and who we are with what we experience. And so our identity seems to be threatened all the time by people and by different situations. All of our sufferings and upsets and anxieties come from us wanting things to be other than the way they are. Now, intellectually, we're like, oh yeah, I see that. But what can we really do with it, right? So the first step is to re-identify who it is that we are. So I'm going to give a shout out to our Purple Eagle tribe and Claudia and Adam for running the Alchemy of Self. This is really to, recognize the different roles and the identities that we sometimes take on, and then ultimately to be able to see from the I, the capital I, the I that is just witnessing all of this playing out. And so when we can start to see all the different pieces and the roles that we play, these are tools for us to really recognize the misidentifications, where the root of all the fears lie. All right, so that's the beginning of, the framework in the book that I'm writing, is to recognize the identifications. Okay, and we don't even have to do anything. See, what's beautiful about the course is like, okay, you see all these things that you have misidentified yourself with. You don't actually have to do anything. There's nothing you have to do besides just having awareness of it. Right? This is not the ego's like, no, we have to do something about it. Now, the moment we try to do something about it, what happens is we reinforce that even more. Whether we defend against it or we attack it, as long as the battle is happening, it reinforces this to be real. Right? Just the awareness and the recognition. And the only way that we can dissolve anything is to bring love and compassion to it. So as we start to practice that with our own misidentifications, we naturally will bring it out into the world. We realize that in order to change somebody's behavior, it's not going against it, not shaming it, not attacking it. We don't even have to do anything. All we simply have to do is bring love and compassion to it, and it will naturally dissolve. See, this is the trust that we don't have, is that what's real, what's truly real, can never be threatened. And if that's the case, then we just bring love to something, and people will come to their own awareness of things in their own time, in God's time. Right? So one of the later on the teachings is you're moving mountains and blessing the. Oh, that's awesome. Way to put that on there. Yeah, one of the teachings that is very hard for people to understand is that we need do nothing. Understanding has nothing to do with awakening. So this is another thing that the Course is reminding us, that actually the recognition that you don't understand is a step towards awakening. So the need to understand anything does not matter at all to our own awakening. So like trying to even reflect on that, the ego is not very happy with. But, see if we can just absorb that for a second, right? Like be open enough to say, I don't have to understand something in order for me to get it, because it's really a knowing that's already inside. So to try to understand, we will only be trying to understand with our minds, which our minds is filled with beliefs that come from our past interpretation of our experiences. And because interpretations come from other belief systems, it's just this mess. So you trying to understand something based on your mind will not work. But we can try on, I need do nothing. What does I need do nothing mean? I need do nothing means in any given situation, the need to do something is not necessary to have peace. To attain peace, it's already available. What the Course actually says, and a lot of the Eastern philosophies and teachings say, is simply don't interfere, right? And we get, like even in business, like there are these little pieces that say the same thing. Like all you need to do is get out of your own way. What does that even mean? Getting out of my own way. Too much mind, too much going back and forth, allowing fear to dictate your decision making. If you think about something long enough, the ego and fear will come in. Will definitely come in, and then we will, make decisions based off of scarcity and fear, even though we might really want something. So yeah, this is we're going to go into chapter 19. It's not a very long read, but this is the last section that we will read before we enter into the obstacles to peace. All right. The Course is really great at in order to learn love, in order to learn peace, in order to learn any of these things, they are experiences that is beyond what can be taught. So, but what we do aim to do is remove all the things that is not peace, so that we can have the experience of peace. So the chapter called The Attainment of Peace, chapter 19. Of course, in there, the section, it's a pretty long section. It would be a multi-call section, probably 4 or 5 calls, in which we will talk about the obstacles to peace. So the first obstacle to peace is our desire to get rid of peace. How interesting. Okay. The second one, and that has, comes with the attraction of guilt. The second obstacle is that the belief that the body is valuable for what it offers. Like this is sometimes that the attraction in pain, the confusion of joy and pain. So the third obstacle is the attraction of death. And then the fourth obstacle is the fear of God. So these are the 4 obstacles to peace. And inside them, there's little sections for each thing too. So it's going to be a 4 or 5 call. And I would, highly invite everybody to not miss those for the next 4 or 5. Now, Sunday this coming week, we will not have a call. Oh, man. And then Wednesday, I'm going... Okay, well, be on the lookout of if Wednesday and Sunday calls happen. Next Wednesday is February 4th, I believe. And that, next one. Ooh, wow, it's happening already. Wow, that's a little bit scary. We are, myself and a couple of our friends and Christine, who's here right now, we will be in New York City, having the opportunity to speak on a United Nations stage. So I'm like, what do I talk about here? So lots of prayers going into the message that is wanting to come forth. What has been showing up? What are the conversations I've been having of late to see what is wanting to come forth as, I take on a stage of that caliber. Okay, so love to open it up now for what else is wanting to be added to today's session. So, I've put my thoughts and my things into this soup. Who else would like to add anything that's going on in life, any challenges? It doesn't have to even be on the topic that we've talked about today. Yes.
I'll share.
Paige.
Hello. Hi,
Hello.
everyone. This is so good. Congratulations on getting to speak at the UN. That's really exciting.
Yeah, it is.
I had this interaction with my son this morning where you said something about how suffering comes from like denying the truth, or
Yeah.
what's the quote of that? And anyway, I came in, I said, hey, you didn't do the dishes last night. And he said, yeah, I did do the dishes. And I said, well, there's like all these dishes here. He said, well, I did the dishes. I said, no, there's like plates and pots and pans, and you didn't. But it's interesting, like this interaction of like, it was crazy making for me because he's denying the truth, right? Like, and I'm like looking at the situation like it's so clear. So then I was just thinking, like, where in my life am I denying the truth, right? And how frustrating it must be for, like, I don't know, the divine doesn't get frustrated, I guess, but I just feel like I got so frustrated. I don't know, like, where in my life am I doing this? Because there's got to be some reflection, but it was just this very perfect example of what you're talking about, is like completely denying the truth when it's right in front of you. And I think we all do this somehow. And I'm just looking at it this morning because it was like, I felt like I was losing my mind.
Well, here's the best part about what happened. First of all, the pain and the upset and all of that is a mirror that points back to us at what we're actually upset at. So first of all, what you're upset at is that he was denying facts. Okay, so just some facts, like. But what you're upset at is not that he's denying facts, nor that he didn't do the dishes. That's not what you're really upset at. See, the Course says you do not perceive your own best interest, and you are not upset for the reason that you think. So this is now the conversations. I'm upset at a bunch of different interpretations of what all this means. You know, like there's interpretations of him. What does it mean if he lies? What does it mean that I'm upset at something? Right? So we point to the actual thing, but that's not what we're really upset at. We're really upset at our stories and the past and the interpretation that we have of this event. Now, this allows us to go a little bit deeper. And if we go deeper in that way, we start to dissolve separation, because we're like, wait, he's actually doing something to reflect exactly what my soul is looking for. Is this upset is coming up so that I can see where peace is not, right? So when we start to see that he's actually just serving me and what I'm looking for, then this like unity of things starts to happen, and you're no longer upset at him or the non-doing the dishes or any of that. You start to see, oh, my interpretations of something. So I get to look at this, because if I interpret this way, I must be interpreting this in other places in the world and in my life, because one form of upset in my mind will cause me to project outward, just looking differently. You know, and then when we look like, okay, well, if it's my interpretations that I'm upset at, then there is so much hope, because that means I can reinterpret. And so now all of a sudden this upset and this guilt and then the shame of being upset turns into this awakening, this awareness. And then from this awareness is growth, and growth, or maybe not growth, but remembering. And from this place, gratitude starts to show up, and gratitude and joy are next to each other. All of a sudden, this conflict that arises from you and your son turns into this so much love and gratitude. And then it heals now your son from, he's like, oh, I don't actually have to lie about doing the dishes or not doing the dishes. Like, now safety is entered into this space. And that's where healing actually happens, right? But like, if we hold any sort of judgment and attack, whether it's on him or myself or whatever, the world cannot escape our judgment. The world is at the effect. Our mind is the cause. So we have to continue to clean and you know, our minds. So yeah, I don't know if that landed at all around anything.
Yeah, no, that's really it's a good reminder. And there is that like the internal guilt of I'm not parenting right, or like, right, it's
Yeah.
me making myself wrong, or all forgiveness is self-forgiveness.
Uh-huh.
And also I find that like with the course, there's been a lot of releasing of like making it wrong. But with kids, there's so much resistance that often I'm like, oh, I'm playing my game. So they like they didn't do the dishes, so I'll just do it rather than like have a fight about it, right? And then I get into this situation where it's like, okay, he literally just doesn't do his job enough times that it hits, I hit a wall. So like I think I struggle with I guess it's like the consistency in it.
Mm-hmm.
Being consistent in, I either like I stay my lane and I keep playing in my lane, but also like as a parent you have to like hold them and unhold it in that resistance. I don't know if this is making sense, but it's a tricky thing with kids, because I think since I started the Course in Miracles, I've stepped back from being like so I guess the way I parented was a lot of like making them wrong,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then not making them wrong and just going, oh, it's perfect that he's 8 and he forgot to do the dishes. And like now he's at school and I need to do the dishes, so I'm just going to do the dishes, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's, there's nothing wrong with that at all either. It's the course says we vacillate to the extreme, right? It's not really healing, because as you do the dishes, there is still grievances that you're holding on your heart around it. And so as you're doing that with grievance and with this like conflict, the energy cannot escape, even though you don't say anything to your son or anything. Just the holding of that grievance, something's going to come out in a way that your son's going to be waiting for it. And then it becomes the biggest thing, even though you're like, well, the last 5 times I didn't even say anything about it, but you held it for 5 times, like in a grievance. So truly, when we let this go, it's like we have to come to a place of forgiveness before we even do anything, before we communicate, even before you go and do the dishes. Like, can I come to a place of fully, I am not holding any energy around this, and then I'm going to do the dishes, right? That becomes a priority. So again, it's the order in which we do things. Like, we're like, well, if I just do it now and I still hold the grievance, I'll figure out the forgiveness later. But you've just locked in another physical experience of grievance, of guilt that you're holding. So allow yourself to just sit and come to a place, like pray. This is why the Course says praying is so important, and setting an intention. All of these things are so important. And then last week we talked about communication. Communication is where you and your brother, or in this situation, you and your son, both get it. Right? So like, communicate in a loving way. There is no way, when there is attack and guilt and shame and defense in the space, communication is blocked. No matter what you're trying to say of, this is why I'm upset. And when you're communicating from a place of holding pain and having guilt and shame, nobody can get it, because they're in a space of defense already. They're misidentified right now. So when two people are in misidentification of the truth of who you are, communication is blocked. And so, of course, the best place, and this is actually in the third framework that I write about, is the special relationships, because we can look at our idols. What have we made special through our relationships? And this is all an internal work for us, is as we practice and we look at our relationships and where these triggers and things come up. And then to remember that through these triggers, through the pains, through not being able to forgive ourselves, is where the light is actually waiting. So we can start to change our relationships to, oh my God, the trigger's coming again. Nice. Here's where I'm going to expand, and I'm going to open more and love more. Right? My capacity to be understanding is going to grow. And so we start to change our relationship to that. And that's what's possible when when our mind is right as we communicate. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Can I have one clarifying?
Yeah, go for it.
Of course, ideally, it's you catch it before you lose your mind and like get all upset, right? Like, obvious, it's always better to have the right mind and to be in the right mind all the time. And then, what does the Course teach about like the recovery when you aren't, and you like go into the breakdown?
So here's another ego's trick, is thinking that it's better to be in the right mind. No, it's not better. It's neutral. It's completely neutral to be in the wrong mind right now, because this next time of forgiveness and whatever may actually be better. You may need to have a couple of these forgetting situations so that it lands better for you and you remember better. Who knows? The Course says the only thing that happens is there's a delay. Delay is neutral. You make the wrong turn because time is infinite. So there is no need to make it happen now, awaken right now. None of that. The Holy Spirit is infinitely patient, because we are just kind of in this dream world. So the speed in which you can forgive yourself comes from recognizing that if you're in the wrong mind, it's simply a delay. It's not wrong at all. It's not better or worse. It's simply you just delayed. You made a wrong turn, and now the GPS says make 2 lefts instead of like stopping and then beating yourself up, because now you're just going to delay even more. And so it's just this moving forward of recognizing, oh, this was the path. This was the way. This was exactly what needed to happen now. So what? Now what? right? And so being able to move back into the present moment of, oh my God, I just created this crazy thing. Did I cause trauma? Did I cause this and that? And then now I'm gonna hold this and hold, and so all of that is just a delay. But if you bring yourself now to the right mind, which must let go of all the fear, guilt, and shame in order to go and have that conversation, it might actually be better, right? So it's just all a delay. It's not better or worse. It's a very neutral thing, and the ego doesn't like neutral because the ego wants to say it's good or bad, but it's a delay. And so when we have a good idea of what delay is, it's just a delay. We took the wrong turn. Like if you didn't have any time in which you have to arrive somewhere, right? You're like, oh, I'm gonna go to my friend's house, but I'm like, there is no time in which I'm supposed to be there. I made the wrong turn to the left. I'm like, okay, great. I'm just gonna take a couple detours and I'm there. I'm gonna get there anyways. It's also like if you get to the airport like 5 hours early. You get to the airport 5 hours early. You're just like, my food is gonna take an extra 10 minutes. And like, oh, we ran out of this. Like, okay, great, take your time. And then the gate line is really long, and somebody's running, and the whole group is like, oh, I'm missing my flight. You're like, sure, cut me, right? Like, because it's all just neutral. Can we be like that with our missteps? I guess. So
I
that's
love that.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I needed
Awesome.
this morning.
Yeah, I think we all, I mean, these conversations are never by accident. Like, I feel like as we're talking about this, I'm like, oh, this is why I'm upset and anxious about things in my own life. So, thank you for sharing that. Okay, Claudia. Hey, sister.
Okay, can you hear me now? Hello.
Hello.
Good rising. Thank you, Paige, for sharing about your son. I'm gonna back up a story about my son too. So it's so beautiful to hear, right? Like because we have all these expectations as mothers with our own programs and our own boxes. Um, but what is very present to me is uh, between ACAM and um, a little bit of the Queen's Code, right? It's been fascinating how like approach not only my son but my daughter as well. My son has been homeschooling for since sixth grade because he was pulled out like us. He didn't want to be bullied anymore, and he's very sensitive on his energy with a lot of big crowds. He doesn't like big crowds. He doesn't like attention minimum, and he verbalized this many times. So, but now he's willing to go back to a small school. So saying this, because he's been homeschooling, he takes his time. And I'm cool with that. I don't want to force and demand that he has to finish the school year in May, like here in Florida. But for sure, if he wants to go in person next year, he has to finish eighth grade, or because he wasn't resistant to keep doing his sessions, um, he, I say, well, I sat to have like this great communication, right? I sat with a lot of love, and in my human um, capacity, I said, what are the possibilities? So I talked to his dad, and I say, I have a conversation to have with you. So, and I like, okay, so this is the possibility, without getting upset, because every single week I was getting upset that he's not submitting 2 lessons of each of his subjects, right? Pretty much that's the schedule that the Florida Virtual School has. Every week you have to submit 2 to keep active in the program. And so he's not doing it. He has no follow that at all. and I get upset every single time, and I raise my voice, and I have to go and make amendments. I'm so sorry that I raised my voice, and da 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 da. So long story short is I say, okay, I need to come with something better that I can communicate very clean and clear, that I give him a possibility that he can make the decision himself, and it feels good to him, not because it comes from me. And of course, I always tell my kids, I am your guidance. I'm the vessel for this world. Can I roll my can I play my role? I always ask them, it's like, can I play my role? And we don't have to have resistance to each other. And of course they say yes, but then they resist, right? Or I resist. So well, saying this, I was in the conversation say, hey, Mateo, you get to have your this is the possibilities. Either you repeat eighth grade in that new school that you're gonna start next year, this year in August, or you stay the eighth grade for 2 years in Florida Virtual online, and then go next year in ninth grade. And he looked at me, it's like, but that means that I'm gonna be behind of my age. And I'm like, well, yes, but do you have a rush? Because at this point, I'm like, I don't have a rush for him to be graduating high school. So if it takes him a year less or a year more, I don't care. Really, I don't care. And I made peace with that already. So I say to him, so, but what do you want? And he's like, no, I don't want to graduate with, I'm saying what happened is instead of you being the youngest in the classroom, you're going to be the oldest, one of the oldest in the group. He's like, I don't want that. I don't want to get behind. I'm like, well, technically it's not that be behind. That's not going to matter when you're an adult, but okay, if that's what you feel. And so this is a commitment to yourself that you're gonna commit now to speed up these lessons every week for you to finish in June, for you to be able to go in August to the school. And he's like, okay. So that was my conversation. Actually, that was like 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
It was this week. So it's very present that how I communicate with him, he doesn't create a resistance. And the other thing that I say, hey, do you think we can have another type of like connection here? Me, instead of cooking every day for you, giving you food, assigning, like in the homeschooling and taking you to the tutorings and this and that. Can we do something extra? Because he gets to do all the extra with his dad. His dad takes him to the nice trips and the fun trips. And I just don't get to do that with him because he lives with me. So the daily, the mundane, the boring part is what I get to have. And I say, I wanna have conversations with you. And he's like, about what? About life. Like, what are the new friends that you've been doing online on your video games? Mm-hmm. Because those are the only friends that he has. Or like just to talk about what do you feel about life now that you are a teenager and a lot of things happen in your body and in your mind. And now we get to have a deeper conversation. It's like, oh, okay, Mom, we'll have those conversations. And that's it. So that I wanted to share that. It's very simple, right? Yeah. It's very simple. Only me, I was making it more complicated. Yeah. Only me and my programs, right? So
it's always only us making it more complicated, And then we're like, no, we want something different. Like I want what you and your dad has. Now, we want to do that. So a lot of these, this is actually the reason why we get upset at a lot of stuff, is because we're like, we want something different. We want something that someone else has. And rather than looking at like, what is the beautiful thing of the mundane that we have? Like just loving the mundane things that we have together. Because in all of those moments presents opportunities for connection as well, But we're like, no, it has to be grander. We have to go on vacation. We have to go on a trip. We gotta go play laser tag. Things like that, or go to Disney.
Those are really good. Those are really good.
Yes, laser tag.
Go to the breakthroughs. Go to the breakthroughs are fun.
Yeah.
So why not the grandiose?
Yes. So of course, there is just opportunities to deepen relationship. Now, one of the things the course would say, like a little trap for us, is like, even though we change our communication method, the longing behind it, if it still is present, will present you many opportunities of pain and suffering, which is like, just because you change the way you speak, and this is actually something that is present in the Queen's Code as well, is you need to be genuinely not trying to manipulate. All right, so this is actually a really beautiful share, because we're always like trying to figure out, how do I get something that I want with different languaging, with different giving, with different things that we're doing. Like, let me just try to do that, but still coming from a what I want, like my agenda, like and maybe Paige, you can speak into this a little bit too, because I know Paige is very familiar with Queen's Code. But you know, when Love used to talk to me in a way that was genuine curiosity of switching her languaging, like, it worked. But then there was times where I knew it was just a way to still get me to do what she wants me to do. And the language can change, but the intention and what the desire is behind it is the manipulation energy behind it, or if there's an agenda behind something really, and that's not from love, it can always be sensed, right? So it doesn't matter if you're speaking to your kid or you're speaking to your spouse, whatever it is, if there's still this you wanting something to happen, but you're just going at it from different directions, it's going to create the same, if not, similar, if not the same results. So, I don't know, Paige, I'm just kind of throwing you on the spot to talk a little bit about Queen's Code here for a second.
I'll just tune into this concept of curiosity, and I think it's just so like that frequency, I think, is the key to relationships. It's gratitude and curiosity, and I think it always just comes back to those two things.
Yeah.
But when we're out of that and we're into the controlling, or like wanting to people, yeah, I mean, you said it, it's just, you can feel it immediately, is they're trying to get me to do what they want, and it's not from a place of being witnessed and seen. And isn't that what we want more than anything? It's just to be fully witnessed, seen, and loved. So
Yeah.
it's not so much the Queen's Code, but just from having studied it, embodied it, like practiced it and failed at it, then those are the two things I've really figured out.
Yeah.
And I know Mindy knows a lot about the Queen's Code too. So
Great. Well, feel free to chime in on that. I mean, obviously, we're moving from A Course in Miracles to Queen's Code, which ultimately, at the end of the day, all of these conversations are the same things. So I don't know if you want to chime in on that a little bit, Mindy.
Well, I mean, I was just thinking like sometimes it's not manipulation, it's just about trying to have better communication. And I think our motive really is important. Uh, I don't know. I just know that there's something when actually right after we left Las Vegas and I got to my sister's house and I changed the date on her daily reader, like her daily calendar. And the day that when I got there, it said, if you want to change the world, all you have to do is there's just one step is just see how beautiful it really is. And so, but there's this part of me that's just like, but there are broken systems. There are really shitty committee thoughts, right? Like we change the world by loving our internal world. There's like, but there's still this like balance of the internal world, the external world. And like, and wanting to love where it hurts. And like, the more I can love myself inside when I see that hurt on the outside, I'm actually better able to like influence it, to love it. It's almost like, Al-Anon versus AA kind of like Al-Anons are like, I can't change it. I didn't cure it. I can't fix it, but then the AAs are like, let me actually do everything I can because I was in that shipwreck. I know how it feels to survive it. And like, it's because of that, like, I may not be able to change the entire world, but I'm going to show up and love it so epically, like to change the outside, not to change it because it's broken, but like, to like have a realistic, just like, this is how it is, and we can upgrade. Let's upgrade these thoughts. Let's illuminate where that pain and suffering is, and like upgrade it, shift it into something where, and there's so much language that helps us get there, because like part of our being is the intellect. There's right action, and there's meditation, and there's devotion, and all these aspects of our being. And and just to choose to tune the dial just a little bit more towards like we're infinite beings, like there's so much good, like everything is possible. And so I don't know, I just love everything that we've been talking about, and it's just so so good.
Love it, love it. Yeah, and it doesn't even matter what everybody is hearing in this conversation, because the mind will come in and be like, oh, well, does this fit my perspective? And if some things are like, oh, if that triggers me a little bit, like all of it is just for us to become aware. There's nothing that needs to even happen. It's just becoming aware of ourselves. And so, yeah, thank you guys for sharing that. And yeah, Love teaches and does a study group on Queen's Code. So, she's our communication definitely was a lot better. There is a distinction. I guess let me just go back and talk about the distinction for a second about the manipulation and control and all that. Is there is one aspect where it's her expressing her needs in a way that lands for the communication, and then there is another that is used just to get what she wants me to do, right? So there's that line. I think that's the line I was talking about. And so it's not so much just the communication, because we can have tools to support, but our intentions and our heart and where our right-mindedness matters, right? Like right action and these practices and devotions that we have is to bring ourselves to what the Course calls right perception. Right-mindedness doesn't mean that it's good or better. It's just so that we can experience and see love. And so when we see love in our own minds, then that's what we will see in the world. And that's how we carry it, because our mind is the cause, the world is at the effect. So we don't have to change anything in the world, we just have to change our perception around what we see in the world. All right, Jess been very patient with her hand up. Go ahead, Jess Electric.
Hey, Alex. I'm so glad I just got to the office. So, wow, the conversation has taken quite a spin from when I when I raised my hand, but I think it's still relevant. All right.
Yes, bring us
Back
back.
in the back in the days, like over 7 years ago, when we started with this Course in Miracles, I remember that my number one thing of just about every time I had a share was like about me losing my shit, being super righteous, and losing my shit to the point that it would take me days for me to recover and to be able to get back to like a balance. And I realized that back in that in that day and everything, one of the first lessons that you taught me was like because I'd be so righteous. I'm like, man, you did me wrong, and now I'm gonna make you pay for it. And I would just like dig and dig until that person was like, oh my God, like ready to freaking slit their wrist because they did me so wrong. And I remember one of the things that you told me, and it just stuck to me. Like, it's been 7 years. You're like, being when we're angry, when we want to put somebody in jail, it's like putting somebody in jail and locking them up, and then sticking ourselves in the jail also and locking the key to make sure that they stay in there. Remember?
Yeah.
It's like locking yourself up, putting them in jail, and you got to put yourself in there because you want to make sure that they're suffering. And I was like, wow. And now, but now as I'm listening to this, I'm listening to Paige and Claudia and the really real shit that they're going through with their kids. And I'm saying, my God, that's not me anymore. And it's not me anymore. And I didn't realize that everything that it took for me to change that way of being. And my invitation to Claudia and Paige is show yourself some grace that you're even considering and really have thought about, are thinking about the fact that how am I showing up to my kid or whatever, because me back in 7 years ago, forget about it. I didn't give a shit how I showed up. I'm like, I am gonna rip your head off and shit down your neck because you did me wrong. And now it's not even a thought. And I'm just thinking, my God, how much peace have I recovered, in these past 7 years, only because I let that shit go. And I stopped trying to like make a bad situation even worse because I was just so righteous in the way that I had been wronged. So I no longer put people in jail or lock myself in jail either, and show myself grace and mercy when I miss the mark, when I do go off and sometimes maybe react as opposed to pausing and coming up with a more, a better solution. And so I show myself grace and I recover. Remember, I always say my recovery is way quicker. The difference between me now and 7 years ago is that before I used to lose my shit and I used to stay there like for weeks and nobody can get me out. Now open up, I unlock the jail, I unlock the jail, let myself out, let everybody else out, and like, all right, never mind, you're gonna pass. We get to try this shit again some other day.
Oh man,
That's
that's
it.
great. Thank you for the reminder of that analogy. Yeah. So, okay. The course actually almost uses those exact terms of the jail. Well, I guess it's similar. It says that you put these things and people and all that in a dark room, then you close the door, then you put a sentinel. The course says it's a sentinel. You put a sentinel in front of this door. Then you put the sentinel and that room in another box room, and you're unwilling to let the light in. And you are basically just guarding. You're making sure that these things stay in a dark room, where that's where your salvation lies, is to free those parts, of you that are all triggered and stuff like that. So beautiful. I think all of this conversation, unless anybody feels really compelled to share anything else, we'll get into this section here, because I think all of our conversation. Okay, go ahead, Mindy.
I just wanted to just come back to this part of the parts of who we are all aspects of us to be love them, know that they have a time and place, and not to be in a fight with it, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
I am the queen, I am the sovereign being, I'm the queen and the king both, right? I have masculine, feminine, all this energy within me, and that's the higher self, right? That's when we're like, oh yeah, I am that infinite being, right? I am the sovereign being, right? And when we come from that place and know that all of our aspects of our beings are here to serve us and not to be in fight with them. I like this, don't lock them, right? Lock them up in the dark, right? That we there's a saying that says secrets die in the light of exposure, but they fester in the dark.
Mm.
And so love it.
Yeah, amazing. Well, we'll jump into section 3 of chapter 19 now. I think all of this conversation we've had is actually preparing us to really receive what this section is really all about, which is called the unreality of sin. So this is the beginning of all the guilt that we have carried up to this point. All right. So, okay, as we are beginning this read in this section, let's arrive again to this new moment. There's been a lot of conversations that have been stirred up and put into the soup. It was all beautiful, and we can say thank you to all of that, as it's it serves the greater good. It serves our remembering. And as we step into this section here, let's allow Spirit to guide us in the downloads that are to come now. The remembrance that is coming through the words of A Course in Miracles. Let's see if we can be fully open to truth. The truth that is wanting to come through. And the words that are written in here are symbols of symbols, two layers out already. So let's see if we can just remove the need to understand and just allow the downloads to come as we read this section. All right. So chapter 19, the attainment of peace. Section 3, the unreality of sin. The attraction of guilt is found in sin, not error. So this is the attraction to guilt. See, this is part of our obstacle to peace, is that we have an attraction to guilt and pain. So the attraction of guilt is found in sin, not in error. Sin will be repeated because of this attraction. Fear can become so acute that sin is denied the acting out. But while the guilt remains attractive, the mind will suffer and not let go of the idea of sin. For guilt still calls to it, and the mind hears it and yearns for it, making itself a willing captive of its sick appeal. Sin is an idea of evil that cannot be corrected, and yet will be forever desirable. As an essential part of what the ego thinks you are, you will always want it. And only an avenger with a mind unlike your own could stamp it out through fear. The ego does not think it possible that love, not fear, is really called upon by sin, and always answers. For the ego brings sin to fear, demanding punishment. Yet punishment is but another form of guilt's protection, and what is deserving punishment must have really been done. Punishment is always the great preserver of sin, treating it with respect and honoring its enormity. What must be punished must be true, and what is true must be eternal and will be repeated endlessly. For what you think is real, you want and will not let it go. So here's this like attraction to sin, okay, and the punishment that keeps the cycle going. An error, on the other hand, so now it's going to make a distinction of you're not in sin. Anything that you've ever done or anything that anyone ever done is not a sin, it's an error. Okay, so let's see what an error is. Error, to the ego really, on the other hand, is not attractive. What you see clearly as a mistake you want corrected. Sometimes a sin can be repeated over and over with obviously distressing results, but without the loss of its appeal. And suddenly you change its status from a sin to a mistake. Now you will not repeat it. You will merely stop and let it go unless the guilt remains. For then you will but change the form of sin, granting that it was an error, but keeping it uncorrectable. This is not really a change in your perception, for it is sin that calls for punishment, not error. The Holy Spirit cannot punish sin. Mistakes he recognized and would be corrected and would correct them all as God entrusted him to do, but sin he knows not, nor can he recognize mistakes that cannot be corrected. For a mistake that cannot be corrected is meaningless to him. Mistakes are for correction, and they call for nothing else. What calls for punishment must call for nothing. Every mistake must be a call for love. What then is sin? What could it be but a mistake you would keep hidden? A call for help that you would keep unheard and thus unanswered. So this idea of sin is really something. It's a call for love, call for help, but you have kept this sin, this idea of sin, in a jail, locked up somewhere so that nothing can touch it. There's a sentinel, there's guardians guarding it, so nothing can go and touch it, because you're like, no, that's real, it needs to be punished. So what then is sin? What could it be but a mistake that you would keep hidden, a call for help that you would keep unheard and thus unanswered? So we're starting to instill this idea that really sin is just a mistake. It's an error that is calling for correction, an error in perception. So in time, the Holy Spirit clearly sees the Son of God can make mistakes. On this, you share his vision, yet you do not share his recognition of the difference between time and eternity. And when correction is completed, time is eternity. The Holy Spirit can teach you how to look on time differently and see beyond it, but not while you believe in sin. In error, yes, for this can be corrected by the mind. But sin is the belief that your perception is unchangeable and that the mind must accept as true what it is told through it. If the body does not, if it does not obey, the mind is judged insane. The only power that could change perception is thus kept impotent, held to the body by the fear of change, by the fear of changed perception, which its teacher, who is one with it, would bring. When you are tempted to believe that sin is real, remember this: if sin is real, both God and you are not. Ooh. If creation is extension, the Creator must have extended himself, and it is impossible that what is part of him is totally unlike the rest. If sin is real, God must be at war with himself. He must be split and torn between good and evil, partly sane and partly insane. For he must have created what wills to destroy him and has the power to do so. Is it not easier to believe that you have mistaken than to believe this? While you believe that your reality or your brother is bounded by a body, you will believe in sin. While you believe that bodies can unite, you will find guilt attractive and believe that sin is precious. For both the belief that bodies limit mind leads to a perception of a world in which the proof of separation seems to be everywhere, and God and his creation seem to be split apart and overthrown. For sin would prove that God created holy, for what God created holy could not prevail against it, nor remain itself before the power of sin. Sin is perceived as mightier than God, before which God himself must bow and offer his creation to its conqueror. Is this humility or is this madness? If sin is real, it must forever be beyond the hope of healing, for there would be a power beyond God's capable of making another will that could attack his will and overcome it, and give his son a will apart from his and stronger. And each part of God's fragmented creation would have a different will, opposed to his and in eternal opposition to him and to each other. Your holy relationship, as its purpose now, the goal of proving this is impossible. Heaven has smiled upon it, and the belief in sin has been uprooted in its smile of love. You see it still because you do not recognize that its foundation has gone. Its source has been removed, and so it can be cherished but a little while before it vanishes. Only the habit of looking for it still remains. So as we are shifting our perception of sin into an error, like as it's starting to vanish in the grip and the hold that it has, right? I mean, it's making the Course is making very, it's almost like comical, it's laughable at what it's sharing. It's like, would you rather believe in this madness? Like, is this madness possible that something that God created is now bigger and greater than God himself and can overcome it and actually can win? Like, why would God create something like that? Right? If creation is expansion, then why would the expansion be something unlike itself? Right? So it's kind of really getting to that. And then it says, you will still have a habit of looking, right? You will sometimes fall and forget and go back to it. And yet you look with heaven's smile upon your lips and heaven's blessing on your sight. You will not see sin long. For in the new perception, the mind corrects it when it seems to be seen, and it becomes invisible. Errors are quickly recognized and quickly given to correction to be healed, not hidden. You will be healed of sin and all its ravages the instant you give it no power over your brother. And you will help him overcome mistakes by joyously releasing him from the belief in sin. So really this sin, this idea of sin, as we are correcting our perception around sin, what was actually happening is we are opening some of these doors that we have closed and kept hidden, and it actually loosens our grip and our mind on on the things that we are righteous about our attacks and our grievances that we have, and the judgments we have placed on our brothers and sisters. So right now it's saying, once you recognize this, you will now become a releaser, really, for your brothers. and you will see that the sins and the things that ravage your brothers are also not real. And you become this releaser. You become a partner with the Holy Spirit. In the instant, you will see the smile of heaven shining on both you and your brother, and you will shine upon him in glad acknowledgement of the grace that has been given you. For sin will not prevail against a union heaven has smiled upon. Your perception was healed in the holy instant heaven gave you. Forget what you have seen and raise your eyes in faith to what you now can see. The barriers to heaven will disappear before your holy sight, for you who were sightless have been given vision, and you can now see. Look not for what has been removed, but for the glory that has been restored for you to see. Look upon your Redeemer, and behold what he would show you in your brother, and let not sin arise again to blind your eyes. For sin will keep you separate from him, but your Redeemer would have you look upon your brother as yourself. Your relationship is now a temple of healing, a place where all weary ones can come and rest. Here is the rest that waits for all after the journey. And it is brought nearer by all your relationships. So we become the resting place for our brothers and our sisters out there. That is the purpose, for you to align to the same function as the Holy Spirit, which is, I am the resting place for you. Okay, go ahead, Mindy. 1 second.
I just love this, that I'm having all these
I'm on
downloads
my
of
ACIM
creative
call.
things
What's
I
up?
want to do. Can you tell me where to find what you're reading so I can bookmark it and come back to it and find it in the book?
Hold on. No, probably not. I'm in the middle of my call. 1 sec.
Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. Go ahead.
Oh, so what page are you on? So I can come back to it.
Chapter 19, section 3, the unreality of sin. So it's actually page 406 if you have the blue cover. You have a different version, which I have that version too, but it's a little bit different. But it's the chapter called the unreality of sin. So if you can't find it in that book, you can easily find it online. Chapter 19, section 3.
So amazing. Oh my God.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, so we have 7 more minutes here. Anybody else want to chime in, tune in, share any last closing remarks?
Drop in the link, the name of that drink, Alex. You didn't do it last time.
Oh, right. Let me handle that for you. I'll send it all. Okay, so real quick, what's present in my mind every single day is a really good friend of mine shared this with me, and I think I shared it a little bit on this call before, but I've been really diving deep into the Eastern teachings and reading the Ramayana and the story of Hanuman and Rama and all that. And what keeps coming to me in the teachings of the Course is who are we, right? Who are we? So when Ram asked Hanuman, who are you? Ram is the reincarnation of Vishnu, who is actually one of the 3 main gods, is the god of the preserver. But it comes back into this world as an expression of love and righteous action and of this virtue. And Sita is a reincarnation of Lakshmi in the god realm, also back into this world. And they're lovers. They're here just to serve the masculine and feminine energy of this, how the world really operates, and what's actually inside each one of us is the Sita and the Ram. So in the story, Sita gets kidnapped by this demon king, which this demon king is really a devotee, a practitioner of Shiva, which is there is a practice around all of that. And it's also remover of obstacles and things like that. But the kind of like in what I'm hearing here is like it's like the ego, right? It's like the ego kind of hijacks this world, and so captures Sita, and Hanuman is the Monkey King, which came only as a actually the reincarnation of Shiva, who is only here to serve Ram. Like his like, I am here just to serve you, serve love, serve righteous action, and that's it. So when Ram asked Hanuman, like, who are you? Hanuman said, when I remember, I am you. When I forget, I serve you. So in the teachings of the course, like if we ask ourselves the same thing, like let's say the Holy Spirit or God comes to us and asks us, right? Like, who are you? And on a daily basis, if we ask ourselves, who am I? When I remember, I am God. I am infinite. I am whole. I am love. I am healing, right? I am the Holy Spirit. Like when I remember, when I'm in right mind, that is who I am. But when I forget, then I am devoted and in service to the Holy Spirit. The mission of the Holy Spirit is to correct perception, is to correct sin, right? It's to bring sin to right perception. So then if I forget, then I am in service to that. My job is to be in service to righting my own perception. Because as I do that, I start to heal the world. And I can do that for my brothers and my sisters and everybody out there. Is to right our perception. So when we forget, we are just in service. When we remember, we are already the light. Okay, I am you. Like I am God. So when you remember, and this is how you know if you remember, because when you see somebody like, I am you. Can you come to that level of compassion, kindness, and love to, I am you? And how would I treat you if I am you? Right? And yeah, that just felt what's real for me and what has been like ruminating inside my mind as I walk around and navigate this world as this body version of Alex. And it's a great reminder, you know? So yeah, I'm actually gonna get a tattoo of something like that when I go down to Peru next week. I have a really great artist down there that I can't wait to go and visit and have a session. Really awesome is when I'm having every time I go down, I'm having a hand poke tattoo session. There's always a bunch of people around, and for like 5-6 hours, people are literally just watching me get tattooed, drinking tea, playing music. I think Lisa was at the last one, which was really cool. And our brother Mike, and we were just serving tea and singing and playing music. And then everybody got a chance to put a little ink on me as well. So that was really fun.
I did it. I poked Alex with the thing with ink.
Yes, it is forever.
It was so fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have another 2 minutes. If anybody else wants to share anything before we wrap it up here.
Just curious, now that you mentioned Peru, are you going to make that happen with the Legends event? What's that going to be about?
To go to Peru?
Yeah, because isn't it like isn't it conflicting weekends at the end of May?
I will go for a little bit. I just got to come back early, and then I'll be, it won't make the end of it.
I guess I'll be coming back early too.
Yes, we are going down to Peru. Morgan, hello. Hey, sister.
Hi, dear. Good morning. Hello. Hello, everyone. The reminder that we are universe, we are one with infinite, and it's something I've been endeavoring to wrap my mind around for the last several weeks. Progress is what's being made, but I think that just the way that I was raised, God is this man in the sky who judges you and is cruel, and that's not the truth, right? And so far, what I've found to help myself with this is in the Bible, God is love and God is light. Those are the two definitions that are given. And I can say that I walk around and I am love and light. Like I can embody that. But this has been helpful in helping me remember, right? Like when I remember who I am, see, it sounds weird to say God, but I am infinite intelligence. And when I purpose of. So thank you for that reminder. I appreciate it.
Yeah. It's so interesting, right? I mean, it's almost like this guilt and this thing that we carry is like, I can't say I am God, right? But then we're like, well, God is everything and created everything except for me. Like, no, I can't say that. But I can say the animals are God. I can say that the trees and the rocks and nature are God. But somehow if I say I'm God, it's like, oh my God, what? Oh, like, I can't say that. So, it's a great, that would be the first space of healing your mind in that way, is to be okay with that, like changing the languaging and the perspective around it.
Do you have a tool or a tip or a trick, technique, anything that you've used to kind of help yourself with that?
Well, if you say I am God 100 times, like truly just do that, I would say that would be good enough. Just to be okay saying that 100 times. That would probably be. Actually, you know what? There is something in the Bible. Jesus says, how many times should you forgive somebody? It's 70 times 7, right? So then go and say, I am God 70 times 7. I think that'll be good enough. That'll be a good work for you.
Thanks.
490 times. Okay.
Hey, I like 70 times 7.
I think when you do say I am that I am, it is solidifying that. And I think there's a lot of language that it depends on how you say it. You can digest it. Like, I am the creator in human form, represented as Mindy, right? Like, there's different ways you can say it so it feels more palatable to our social settings. But, like, there's only oneness. The delusion is that we're separated.
Yes, and I think in this aspect, I think Morgan's trigger for herself is that word itself, I am God. Like, you can beat around the bush, oh, I am the light and the love and all that, but somehow you are still separating this idea of God from those things too. So as you say, I am God, you start to unify God with love, with light, and then it all becomes healed into one for you, You can go around and say all the things that are more comfortable for sure. But I think what you are personally asking right now is to embody that I am God and be okay with it, because that's where the discomfort lies for you, right? And where the discomfort is, we should lean more into it. Not to create a ton of fear. If there is not fear, if you're just like, oh, it's just uncomfortable, go ahead and lean into it. But if you're like freaking out over it, then you should go around and be light and love and all of that first. But I think you're in a place that you can just be like, I am God, like 490 times or 70 times 7, and just see where that goes.
I'm 398 more times to go.
All right, amazing.
Well, my intellect likes to be able to understand it, and I think for me, like, saying it this is great advice, Alex. I do love this. For me, there's like the Jewish thing of the Elohim is all souls ever created are God. It's the oneness of all of us together is the Elohim. So it's like and then you take the Buddhism stuff, like the hell realm, the ghost realm, and if we're in God's plural, then we're separated. But if we're in God singular, all of us are one. There is no separation. It's only one. So I am that. You are that. We are that.
Amazing. Whatever works for you, like words are symbols. Like you don't actually have this separation with God. You have a idea of words and what they mean. Currently. And it's the same thing for all of us. We're like, no. We can't say gods. We got to say God. But in your mind, if God and gods are already unified as not separate, what does it matter if you say gods or God, right? And so it's about unifying at the end of the day. It's not about fixing language only if it serves you. But at this point, you know, the language itself, and Morgan, and this is just my own thoughts as you asked, like, what are some things I would support? I would just lean into that. And, you know, maybe it's 490 times that you say it, but it might be 490 days in a row that you want to say it to really lock that in. Because you can like quickly say it 490 times and then tomorrow, the day after, you forget, right? But I don't know, maybe 490 days straight. Just put it on your mirror, you know, see it every day until it becomes real for you. So, all right, that's all I got, guys. Thank you all so much. And so much blessings to everybody. And thank you for this beautiful conversation and this gathering. And yeah, I will see you guys maybe Sunday, depending on how late I go to sleep Saturday night. But I will be in Florida on Thursday. I will be there until maybe Tuesday. So if you are there, if I see you, I would love it. I will be in Plantation at Villa Sol. So love it. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Alex. Great call.
Thanks.
See you soon.
See you soon.